Forward. Terrorism and militancy are synonymous with the activities subversive of peace, safety, development and humanity. Horrible terrorism and militancy is dismantling the world. Human civilization today is under threat because of terrorism and militancy. This demon must be uprooted from the society at any cost. The causes of terrorism and militancy are diverse and multilateral. Its visage changes with respect to difference in country, nation, religion, culture and time. There are some fundamental causes of terrorism and militancy. These are decadent Islamic education, debased politics in the guise of establishing Islamic State, demoralized banking, insurance, trust and currency trading. Banking and currency business conducted by abusing the name and debasing the teachings of Islam. Jamaati people strengthens their financial footing. This is another important source of financing the terrorist activities. With a view to grabbing power, Islam is being debased, and with that debased political philosophy pious people are being misguided. Especially people are being instigated by the Jamaati and Maududi thought, which is the deviated philosophy of Islam. Maududi thought creates extremism, vengeance, jealousy, misinterpretation of Islam and perverted mentality among the pious people. Jamaati Islam Bangladesh has been playing a role in spreading terrorism and militancy. Among the other auxiliary cause spreading terrorism and militancy throughout the world are special affinity of a particular country to capture the geopolitically important area or territory, ill motive of the arms dealers towards sustainability of terrorism and militancy, dominance of materialistic and sensual philosophy, religious fanaticism, lack of sympathy and unity in terms of untrust among the followers of the revealed divine books. Another dimension of subduing terrorism and militancy is being neglected. That is neglecting the spiritual and humanitarian philosophy of religion. Evolution of spirituality is essential for building developed and pure mentality. The way Muslim youth is being involved in terrorism and militancy is a matter of great concern. They must be reverted towards Deen through teachings of peace, real hidden core of spiritual teachings. For this purpose the necessity of Deeni Dawah is unavoidable. Ihsan and spirituality are other dimensions of Deen. Perfectness of amal is a consequence of spiritual superiority. Amal at that stage becomes bountiful. Spiritual purity is essential for worshipping with sincerity. It is necessary to create sympathy in human being in order to love them. It is also essential to achieve God-fearness, good character and purification of soul. They way Maududist deviated and debased education, politics and banking business facilitating the spread and financing terrorism, has been depicted in a small arena in this booklet. The readers will get an idea as to how the Muslim Ummah is being misguided by the debased education, politics and banking business of Jamaat. Origin of terrorism. Decadent education, politics and banking business of Jamaati. Islam is a complete code of life. This code contains directives to everything related to human life. The latest revealed book, the Holy Quran and the Holy Sunnah of the Muhammad peace be upon him, is the source of that code. Welfare of mankind after establishing faith in Allah and Prophet, peace be upon him, is the objective of human life. Worldly welfare and the way of eternal emancipation are hidden in it. Islam is the religion of peace, equality, harmony, fraternity and tolerance. These are the unique essence of Islamic culture. Allah has sent the Prophet, peace be upon him, in this earth as a blessing for all the creatures of the universe to establish a society free from conflict, jealousy, violence and collision. It is the prime target of the Dawah to disseminate this great teaching of Islam to the whole human race. Companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, their followers, Islamic researchers, spiritually developed saint and religious preachers disseminated this message to the human being through ages. People took shelter under the calm shade of Islam, having been pleased with the peerless human values and education of these persons. Because of the failure to upholding the beauty of Islam, whole Muslim Ummah fell prey to multifaceted conspiracy and crisis. It is our failure which facilitated the anti-Islamic force to prove Islam as a religion of terrorism. A group of hypocrites bearing Muslim name have been trying to defame Islam by means of terrorism and militant activities with the assistance of anti-Islamic force. Islam today is sunk in a two-way crisis. On one hand, conspiracy of the anti-Islamic force; on the other hand, terrorist activities of some hypocrite bearing Muslim name. Through this dual conspiracy, the way of preaching and propagation is being closed on one hand, and the Muslim Ummah is getting divided by discrimination and diversity on the other hand. Those who are desirous of grabbing state power in the guise of Islam instead of deploying the huge youth force of Muslim Ummah in Dini Dawah are distracting them to the path of terrorism. Establishing an Islamic state is a falsehood and sabotaged philosophy. Revival of Islamic values is not being accomplished either through this philosophy. Rather, Islam is being defamed worldwide, and a huge potential of youth is being driven away towards death. The magnitude of harm that is being done by this power-greedy hypocrite is much more than that is done by the anti-Islamist. Due to their hypocrisy, Islam, instead of becoming the name of a religion of peace, is becoming the name of an apprehension. Those who could not be acquainted with the beauty of Islam and could not come in close vicinity to the Prophet, peace be upon him, the original caller of religion and his vicegerents, has taken Islam as a religion devoid of civilization. Terrorism is their sole profession. Anti-Islamists are but utilizing this to stop the revival of Islam worldwide. Three main problems of the Muslim countries. At present there are 57 Muslim member countries of OIC in the world. Many kinds of problem prevail in these countries. In some countries educational crisis exist, in others either political or economic or religious crisis prevail. But in Bangladesh perspective, three elementary problems are encountered. For example, 1. Debased Islamic education, 2. Decadent economics and asset management, 3. Unwholesome politics in the plea of establishing Islamic State. Besides the above-mentioned problems, special affinity of some countries to control geopolitically important area or territory and the desire of the arms traders towards nourishing terrorism pose as cause of crisis in some countries. Origin of terrorism. Decadent education, politics and banking business of Jamaati. Islam is a complete code of life. This code contains directives to everything related to human life. The latest revealed book, the Holy Quran and the Holy Sunnah of the Muhammad, peace be upon him, is the source of that code. Welfare of mankind after establishing faith in Allah and Prophet, peace be upon him, is the objective of human life. Worldly welfare and the way of eternal emancipation are hidden in it. Islam is the religion of peace, equality, harmony, fraternity and tolerance. These are the unique essence of Islamic culture. Allah has sent the Prophet, peace be upon him, in this earth as a blessing for all the creatures of the universe to establish a society free from conflict, jealousy, violence and collision. It is the prime target of the Dawah to disseminate this great teaching of Islam to the whole human race. Companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, their followers, Islamic researchers, spiritually developed saint and religious preachers disseminated this message to the human being through ages. People took shelter under the calm shade of Islam, having been pleased with the peerless human values and education of these persons. Because of the failure to upholding the beauty of Islam, whole Muslim Ummah fell prey to multifaceted conspiracy and crisis. It is our failure which facilitated the anti-Islamic force to prove Islam as a religion of terrorism. A group of hypocrites bearing Muslim name have been trying to defame Islam by means of terrorism and militant activities with the assistance of anti-Islamic force. Islam today is sunk in a two-way crisis. On one hand, conspiracy of the anti-Islamic force, on the other hand terrorist activities of some hypocrite bearing Muslim name. Through this dual conspiracy the way of preaching and propagation is being closed on one hand, and the Muslim Ummah is getting divided by discrimination and diversity on the other hand. Those who are desirous of grabbing state power in the guise of Islam instead of deploying the huge youth force of Muslim Ummah in Dini Dawah are distracting them to the path of terrorism. Establishing an Islamic state is a falsehood and sabotaged philosophy. Revival of Islamic values is not being accomplished either through this philosophy. Rather, Islam is being defamed worldwide and a huge potential of youth is being driven away towards death. The magnitude of harm that is being done by this power-greedy hypocrite is much more than that is done by the anti-Islamist. Due to their hypocrisy, Islam, instead of becoming the name of a religion of peace, is becoming the name of an apprehension. Those who could not be acquainted with the beauty of Islam and could not come in close vicinity to the Prophet, peace be upon him, the original caller of religion, and his vicegerents, has taken Islam as a religion devoid of civilization. Terrorism is their sole profession. Anti-Islamists are but utilizing this to stop the revival of Islam worldwide. Three main problems of the Muslim countries. At present there are 57 Muslim member countries of OIC in the world. Many kinds of problem prevail in these countries. In some countries educational crisis exist, in others either political or economic or religious crisis prevail. But in Bangladesh perspective, three elementary problems are encountered. For example, 1. Debased Islamic education, 2. Decadent economics and asset management, 3. Unwholesome politics in the plea of establishing Islamic State. Besides the above-mentioned problems, special affinity of some countries to control geopolitically important area, or territory, and the desire of the arms traders towards nourishing terrorism pose as cause of crisis in some countries. Debased Islamic education. Education brings about perfection in the human character. Religious education in particular makes a man knowledgeable, experienced and expert in religion. On the other hand, it builds up a man as a competent and morally developed citizen in the society. But in our country religious education could not build up our people as knowledgeable and religious experts. In some cases, instead of getting true religious knowledge, they are influenced by dissipated religious philosophy. As a result, the whole society fails to perceive the essence and teachings of religion. Consequently, demoralized interpretation and philosophy of religion misguide general and pious people. In some cases, people are even derailed by this depraved education. Medical science builds up human being as doctor, and engineering science engineer. Similarly, madrasa education makes a Muslim an Islamic religious expert. As a matter of fact, the way a doctor can't serve the purpose of an engineer, similarly an engineer can't do the job of a doctor. In the same way, no one can be a Muslim religious expert, neither can he give directives in religious matter without having sound knowledge of the religion of Islam. A man needs to be expert and scholar in Arabic to obtain knowledge of Islamic subjects. Madrasa education fulfills that objective. The two traditional systems of religious education, viz. Alia and Qawmi, prevailing in our country could not achieve the main objective and target of religious education. An expert in the field of religion means mufti, muhaddith, mufassir, and haqqani, alim. Madrasa education builds up a haqqani, alim having knowledge of the fundamental matters of religion, its application, philosophy of religion, call of religion, making translation, tafsir, of the Holy Quran, explanation of hadith, minimum knowledge of Islamic jurisprudence, etc. It makes a Muslim competent enough to give directives to the people in the field of religion. A mufti gives proper explanation of the Islamic laws and jurisprudence. Mufassir makes tafsir, translation and explanation, of the Holy Quran. Similarly, a Muhaddith explains Hadith. Though madrasa are outnumbered in our country, Alia-only system of education could not build up adequate number of alim and religious expert of desired standard. The curriculum of the Qawmi Madrasa, established on the basis of the curriculum of Darsnai Jamia, to a great extent was conducive to religious education. But with the intervention of the English people, the curriculum of the religious subject of the madrasa education system started to become squeezed and narrowed, and some modern subjects started to gradually get incorporated into it. As a consequence, the students, after completing their student life in Alia tradition, neither could become Haqqani, Alim, Mufti, Mufassir, Muhaddith with desired competence, nor educated in modern education. In building Haqqani, Alim, that is vicegerents of Prophet, peace be upon him, having perfect and applied knowledge and practice, the curriculum of Alia Madrasa is not perfect and competent. Reformation of the syllabus of Alia Madrasa is essential if and Alim, after getting educated in Alia Madrasa, is found to lack adequate knowledge and competence to teach Arabic, explain the Holy Quran and Siyar Sitta. On the 24th of February 2014, two of the Bangladeshi newspapers published an article titled, Al-Azhar calls for reformation of the curriculum of religious education and bring a basic amendment in the Islamic education system. Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, Sheikh Ahmed Tayyab, Grand Mufti of Al-Azhar, in a recent anti-terrorism conference held in KSA, called for a thorough reformation and amendment of the religious education system to combat terrorism, which is not only a threat for the Muslim countries but also for the whole world. Terrorism is a disaster, which originates from extremism. In that news it was mentioned that according to Al-Tayyib, misinterpretation of the Holy Quran and Sunnah remains the cornerstone of all extremism. In addition to his condemning the terrorism, he also mentioned that the peers of new capitalism together with world leaders are responsible for unrest in the Arab world. It was observed with grave concern that with the intervention of the English people teaching the religious subjects that were included in madrasa education system became subsidiary. Instead of Ulum al-Aqliya, religious subject, Ulum al-Aqliya, modern subject, was incorporated and given priority. The English people started to patronize this activity. As a consequence, an obstacle was created in the way of building religious expert and vicegerents of Prophet, peace be upon him. Extremism and violence increase in the society because of misinterpretation and misuse of Islam by dragging it into politics. Abuse of Islam is also a cause of terrorism and militancy. The root of this misinterpretation of Islam is debased Islamic religious education system, specifically the syllabus and the curriculum. Debauched religious education misguides people so much that the simple-minded people become derailed by being provocated and instigated by the deviated and unwholesome religious philosophy. They are so much derailed that they can't be easily reverted to the way of Islam in its true perspective. Because of these corrupt activities, these simple-minded people come under the control of those who are involved in the politics of seizing state power, by misusing the religion, and those who act as agent of Jews and Christians. Sometimes they choose the path of extremism, violence, terrorism and militancy. If the curriculum and syllabus of religious education is reformed, the students, by virtue of the reformed curriculum containing subjects conducive to learning Islam in its true perspective, would have been built up with high moral, non-communal, humanitarian and peace-loving spirit. Those who will be educated through the reformed curriculum and syllabus will grow up as knowledgeable and practicing alim, and will always remain engaged in developing human resources with a high morality to make perfect human being. Debased politics in the plea of establishing Islamic State. Islam is the complete code of life. Iman, Amal and Ihsan are the three elementary aspects of Islam. Transparency of Iman, perfectness of Amal and practical example of Ihsan makes an ordinary man a perfect human being, insane, camel. When an ulama ascends to this state, general people spontaneously follow him. At this stage all defects pertaining to inhuman attributes are removed, and human being develops into a pure entity. Spiritual leaders or saints possessed this kind of attribute. Islam is well founded on a strong base in Bangladesh, because of the sincere preaching and propagating of the innumerable alim saint and spiritual leaders. Islam was nowhere founded by applying force, or by seizing state power, or by terrorism. In our country a specific group of people have been trying to make mosques as center of political activities instead of worship. They misinterpret Islam with a view to achieving political benefit. It is the solemn responsibility of the Muslim people to remain alert and to protest unjust so that their humane activities can't disrupt the unity and solidarity of the pious people of the country. It is because of the evil activities of the followers of Maududi extremism, terrorism and militancy intended to rise in our country in the past. But the strong combined effort of the Haqqani alim and pious people of the country effectively resisted the rise of terrorism in our country. People in our country are very much respectful of the religion. Most of the political leaders of this country pay respect to religion. Almost all of them observe the religious rituals. Still now there is unlimited influence of religion on the society. No one likes to make the religion controversial. The followers of Maududi, by bringing a change in Dawati usul and dragging the religion into politics, started to abuse the religion. These devils attempt to make Alim society controversial. An apprehension of division among the Alim in some aspect of the society is also being apprehended. The situation could invoke religious division, chaos, violence, extremism, and terrorism in particular cases. The position of the main actor of terrorism always remains beyond the reach in most of the cases. In order to usher religious extremism and violence, the main perpetrators of terrorism involve into their activities the religiously deviated, derailed and fanatic people in a planned way by special technique. Sometime by misinterpreting the religion, and in the name of saving the religion, terrorist and militant actions are being conducted by them. By inspiring them with fanaticism they are being motivated to do this type of job. The essence of Islam creates a moderate outlook lesson of coexistence, non-communalism and fraternity. The great teaching of Islam builds up fraternity irrespective of caste and creed. For this reason extension of religious education and propagating and expansion of religious call, dawah, is essential. Universal teachings and hidden mystery of Islam is capable of creating an effective and positive impact on establishing peace in the society. By being a follower of the Sunnah and the teachings of the Holy Quran, a peaceful society free from terrorism, militancy and anarchy enriched with human values can be established. We have to build up our personal, family and social life on the basis of the first written constitution of the World Medina Charter, and in the light of that charter, we have to build up the world system. There is no other alternative to religious education and dawah, to uphold our beloved motherland Bangladesh, as an unparalleled example of peace, harmony and coexistence before the world people. But unfortunately on one hand the devout ulama uninterruptedly continued the act of preaching and propagation of Islam, and on the other hand a group of people deviated from the religion, and derailed created hindrance to dawah activities. Sometimes by changing the usul of dawah, sometimes by forcibly seizing the state power, sometimes by misinterpreting Islam and sometimes, by extreme terrorist and militant actions they get involved in disputing Islam. In this situation, local enemies, foreign group, conspirators instigates the deviated and apostate people to become extremist and terrorist. IS, Islamic State, is but a religious terrorist organization created by Mossad and CIA. According to news published in two Bangladeshi dailies, IS, Islamic State, is a religious terrorist organization created by Israeli intelligence organization Mossad and American intelligence organization CIA throughout the world. IS is the name of a threat and horror. In different parts of Middle East and Europe, IS is conducting terrorist attack. By this heinous activities, of IS Muslims throughout the world are getting disgraced. Universal religion of Islam has become disputed today. The whole world is now terrorized and anxious of the brutal activities of IS regarding the creation of IS. The presidents of the most powerful countries of the world delivered a speech in the Daily Juggernaut on the 18th of November, 2015, a news titled, Khalifa Baghdadi is a Jew, IS created by Mossad, and on the 19th of November 2015 another news was published in Bangladesh uprooted entitled, Is with the mission of Qiyamah. In those two news US President Barack Obama, and ex-British Prime Minister Tony Blair was quoted to have confessed that the inception of IS was heralded by Iraq War. IS evolved after the fall of Saddam Hussein in Iraq. According to some analysts, IS has been created by the joint collaboration of Mossad in Israel and CIA in America. The former British Prime Minister said, the Iraq War was the main reason behind the rise of IS. We couldn't understand the consequences of the fall of Iraqi regime. I apologize for these incidents. American President Barack Obama said, during the regime of George W. Bush, our aggression in Iraq directly created IS. On the 18th of November 2015, the Daily Juggernaut published, this well-organized terrorist group named IS before its inception made several meetings with John McCain, a senator of U.S. Republican Party and a president-elect in 2008 general election. At the initial stage, some of the members of Mossad and the chief of IS, Mr. Baghdadi, were also present. It was learned from the report that the chief of the terrorist group IS, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, is a non-Muslim. He is a Jew. His original name is Aka Elliot Shimon. The intelligence organization of Israel imparted training to most of the senior leaders of this terrorist group. In the training, his militants are being taught war tactics. It was also reported that IS has been dreaming of making a greater state by incorporating parts of Lebanon, Palestine, Israel, Syria, Iraq, Turkey, and Cyprus. On the 18th of November 2018, a report titled, Annual Income of IS is $2.00 billion. In that report, quoting the speech of Russian President Vladimir Putin, it was stated that IS is being financed by 40 countries. Some of the G20 alliance countries are also in that list. In the newspaper it was mentioned that IS is earning the huge amount of money by selling petroleum from the area of Iraq and Syria in their possession. Moreover, looting bank and dacoity are other sources of their income. The activities of Islamic State are contrary to the provision of the Holy Quran and Sunnah. We all know the Prophet, peace be upon him, is the blessings for all the creatures of the universe, Rahmat al-Alameen. He came to this world with the core of religion for all. We all know that he propagated the message of religion in a very unwholesome environment and adverse situation. He suffered a lot of torture and oppression to preach Islam in Mecca and Taif. People accepted Islam by seeing the beauty of Islam and the attributes of the Prophet, peace be upon him. The example of forgiving the people of Mecca after its conquest is an unprecedented example in their history. The way the religion of peace, Islam, is being made disputed will bring no success for the Muslim community. By misinterpreting Islam, it is only being disputed to the peace-loving people. It is clearly evident that by all their heinous activities Muslims and Islam will not be benefited. Very recently, a very dangerous terrorist group, named Islamic State IS, has created a tremor throughout the world. By this time they have influenced world politics to a great extent. Centering this organization, the two major power of world, USA and Russia, are heading towards a situation of conflict with each other. The thought of Islamic State is not supported by Islam. Jamaat-e Islami, in this subcontinent and Equanal, Muslimin in the Middle East are two of the initiator of Islamic State. Islamic State. A word neither used in the Holy Quran nor was in vogue during period of Prophet peace be upon him. Professor Rashid Abdul Matan, professor of International Islamic University of Malaysia, in his book Political Science and Islamic Perspective mentioned that the word Islamic State was neither used in the Holy Quran nor it was used during the regime of the Prophet peace be upon him. He also stated that the word is a misapplication of language. Professor Abdul Matan also mentioned in his book, Western model of state cannot be acceptable to the Muslim. Islam does not want to make a particular territory, rather, it wants to make the whole world a field of implementation of divine desire of the Creator. Islam is universal, so it cannot be limited within one or two pieces of land. Similarly, the message of Islam is not meant for a special group or nation, but it is meant for the whole human race. Tariq Ramadan, in a discussion meeting titled, A Civil State Ideas and Challenges, organized by Penang Islamic Foundation Malaysia, held on the 18th of July 2012 in Evergreen Hotel, Penang, said that all strategic and intellectual thinking of making Islamic State has been collected from Western philosophy. The slogan Islamic State is to create obstacle in dawah activates. Prophet peace be upon him came to this world with such a code of life where there is no defect, it is a complete code. As a matter of fact, Iman, Amal and Ihsan is the religion, the complete code of lifestyle of human being that has been stated in the Holy Quran. Starting from the belief, Iman, and Aqidah, the principles of personal, family, social, economic and international life have been so clearly been explained in the Holy Quran that these are unparalleled examples in true sense. Islam is such a code of life revealed by Allah which is harmonious, instinctive and competent to be adopted by human being. The philosophy of life brought by the Prophet peace be upon him was meant for the human being. The relationship between man and other creatures, one man with another, the main objective of arrival of our Prophet, peace be upon him, have clearly been stated in the Holy Quran and Hadith. Islam has been nominated by Allah as the only religion of the human race. But nowhere in Islam it is mentioned that a state should be named Islamic State, Muslim State, etc. Actually, the naming of a state after the name of Islam, instead of accepting Islam as the code of life, began in Pakistan in 1947, in Iran in 1979 and subsequently, in Chad and Afghanistan. The rest of the 53 OIC member state don't designate them as Islamic Republic. Saudi Arabia does not either write their name as Islamic Republic, but they write it as Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. This deviation and the concept of Islam in state have been initiated by the Western world in 1947, about 1337 years after the revelation of the Holy Quran in 610 A.D., on the Prophet peace be upon him. The Prophet peace be upon him came to this world to teach kalima to the whole human race, not to the earth. Salat, Psalm, Hajj, Zakat, all these worship are meant for human being, not for the earth or territory or state. Islamic states, Muslim state, Islamic Republic are all slogan-oriented conception. Terrorism and militancy in the name of establishing Islamic State is nothing but the conspiracy of the Jews and Christian. Creating obstacles in the way of dawah, debasing Islam and damaging its glory are the main objectives of this terrorist organization. It is only a part of an international conspiracy. The hypocrites want to destroy Islam. In Bangladesh, these hypocrite groups are the followers of the Maududi Jamaat. The spirit of the Medina Charter has been reflected in the Constitution of Bangladesh. All nations of the world have agreed that the Medina Charter is the first written constitution of the world. Rasul peace be upon him migrated to Medina. In order to live peacefully and ensure coexistence and security, the Medina Charter has been signed by the Muslim on one part and the Jews, Christian and the pagans of Medina, on the other. The effectiveness of Medina Charter is still valid in our personal, familial, social and international life. In Medina Charter a positive outlook was reflected to the culture of different people. Through this charter unity was established among the believers of different faith, community and nation. The way Medina Charter was reflected in the Constitution of Bangladesh is an unparalleled example in the history. The Charter of Medina ensured peace, security, coexistence of different group of people, irrespective of their religious belief and nationality. The crisis resulted by misusing Islam to grab state power, is an important problem in some of the OIC member countries including Bangladesh. If we can't get rid of this crisis, anarchy, extremism, chaos, sabotage, terrorism and militancy will rise in our country. Debauched bank, insurance trust and financial system, in the name of Islam. In the presently world those who are leading the sector of economics and management have founded dominance in the world. The age of modern economics is about 300 years. In this interest-based financial system a strong affinity to make profit is present in the mind of the people. Modern economics is basically indifferent to human values. Interest is the driving force of modern economy. On the contrary, Islam is the complete code of life. This code is always based on values, its target is human welfare. Islamic Bank was committed to establish Sharia-based and interest-free economy, banking and asset management in this country. The job that is being done by Islamic Bank by misusing the religious emotion and feelings of 90% Muslim of this country can no way be designated as Sharia-based or interest-free. Rather, Islamic Bank is engaged in patronizing the supporters, workers and cadres of a political party by initiating a debased economy and banking system, in the name of Islam. In this world material production and ingredients or asset is so important that it is the driving force behind all the efforts and endeavor of human being. That is why asset management has an important role in this life. We can easily visualize that countries expert in asset management through interest-based system are leading the world. In the world in respect of contemporary economics their unique hegemony has been established. They are considered as the owner and nourisher of the modern civilization and the supreme power in economics. Although they apparently climbed the top of the materialistic development by dint of asset management and economics, but they failed to play any mentionable role in the field of human welfare in terms of moral feelings and values. Actually, they recognized objective of all the society is human welfare. Imam Ghazali said, "The objective of Sharia is to preserve the belief, life, intellect, offsprings and asset through human welfare." Another Islamic scholar Ibn al-Qayyim opined that one of the bases of Sharia is knowledge and welfare of human in this world and in the hereafter. Money is a medium of exchange in the eye of Islam. Money is nothing but money and commodity is nothing but commodity. These two things are completely different, their nature and characteristics are also different. That is why Sharia has considered commodities as a separate and different entity from money. For example, money can never be made commodity of trade. If under any circumstances money needs to be exchanged with money, the amount of each party must be equal. Hazrat Imam Ghazali, Death 550h, discussed on the role, nature and characteristics of money in a very competent, thoughtful and wise manner. Some of his sayings are: money is the measure of value, but that does not mean that money itself is a commodity. Money by itself is not an object but an instrument or a vehicle to serve a purpose. One who invests money in interest-based business, he in real sense denies the bounties of Allah. While exchanging currency of the same nature, such exchange can't be made an instrument for profit. We must remember it that the extra amount which is being collected from the innocent people through money trade is undoubtedly riba or interest. Human being fell prey to abuse because of riba. This kind of abuse gives birth to some other crimes. So money trading is worse than arms trade. One of the valuable opinions of Imam Ghazali is also mentioned here. Riba is prohibited because it refrains people from economic activities. This is because when a man having money is allowed to invest in an interest-based trade, he can easily and instantaneously earn money, and he considers the technique of earning money through interest-based trade easier than earning money by investing his money and labor in some economic activities. A major difference between traditional and Islamic financial system is the matter of debt or loan. In traditional economics, loan is considered as a commercial exchange which plays the role of income generation. On the contrary, Islam states that the creditor shall give loan but shall not expect any worldly benefit. On the other hand, investment is an entirely different thing from that of loan or debt. In Islam there is separate investment system. It is clearly opined that Sharia does not affiliate interest-based loan as a method of financing in trade. It was also mentioned Islamic Sharia wants a limited use of loan. For that reason Sharia has permitted to take loan only on unavoidable necessity. It is further told that if the loan itself engages in trade, the whole economic system is transformed into an interest-based system. The whole human race has been created to worship Allah. That is why Islam has come for the welfare of human being, and hence the rules and regulations of Islam are conducive to human lifestyle. The Holy Quran and the Sharia has been revealed for the welfare of the whole human race. Economy and resource management system free from interest and based on justice. Islam is relentless and uncompromising in eradicating oppression from the human society. In Islam, emphasis has been given in establishing adil, or justice in the society. The concept of justice has been outlined in about 100 verses of the Holy Quran. Injustice in the Islamic language has been compared with all sorts of suppression, oppression, exploitation and unethical works. The consequence of taking interest is oppression. Justice has to embrace defeat because of oppression. Injustice is a bottleneck for insaf and equitable justice. The banks which have been established in the name of Islam have indulged themselves in transacting interest on one hand, and on the other hand compensation is being realized from the customers of the banks. An important share of the profit earned by these banks is being spent for organizing defrayed political activities of Jamaat-e-Islam, for financial assistance of the activists of this party. In many cases this fund is being channelized to terrorist activities. If we discuss the history of economics, we come across the fact that agriculture was evolved in the Mediterranean region. Arabian Peninsula is the place of junction of three continents. All the books of God's message were revealed in this region. Recently a trend towards an alternative economic system can be seen in place of capitalism and socialism. This is an offshoot of increasing economic crisis and ineffective role of prevailing economic system. Because of this, some show their negative attitude towards accepted economic theories. We should have some ideas about economic transaction, give and take, characteristics and other social arrangements in the ancient Arab Hijaz, Mecca, Medina, Sinai, Palestine, Syria, Iraq, Bahrain, Jordan and Yemen. These are located in the periphery of ancient Arab. From time immemorial, Arabian Peninsula was an important territory. Arabia was the place of junction of the three continents, that is Asia, Europe, and Africa. Judaism and Christianity had their birthplace in Arabian Peninsula. Torah, Gospel, Bible and the Holy Quran were revealed in this region. Hazrat Sulaiman alayhi salam, Hazrat Daud alayhi salam, Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, were the prophets of this region. Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam propagated Islam in this region. The time, which goes back to 5 years before the birth of Rasulullah, peace be upon him, is termed as the era Jahiliyyah. To get an idea about the economic system of this era, one should have a notion about economic system prevailing in the then Mecca, Medina, and Taif. People of Taif of that era had extreme indulgence in realizing interest. Transaction of interest was the sole business of the people of Taif. By realization of interest they would reach such an extent where the interest amount would become double than the principal amount with the passage of time. For example, if 100 dirham would be realized for the first year as interest, 200 dirham would be realized for the second year. If the borrower would fail to pay for the third year, in that case the borrower had to pay 400 dirham to the lender. In fact, if we want to discuss the history of the establishment of Islamic banks, then we should remember the following words. In 1974, Bangladesh, represented by the founder of the nation, Bangobantu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, signed the Charter of IDB and committed itself to reorganizing its economic and financial system in accordance with Islamic Sharia. It is said that Islamic Bank is based on Islamic Sharia and free from interest. The Islamic banking system in Bangladesh is supported to follow the guidelines given by the Bangladesh Bank, which is totally based on the principles of Quran Sunnah. But transactions in the Islamic banks are not taking place in interest-free system based on the Sharia. Followings are our observations for your consideration. Partnership and card Hasan system is not applicable. Islamic banks claim that they follow 13 investment systems, which is subdivided into 4 classes: A. Partnership system, B. Buying-selling system, C. Rental system, and D. Other investment system. Among these investment system, Islamic banks implement buying, selling and rental system. The implementation of partnership system card Hasan are almost nil, whereas these systems have received the topmost priority in Islamic Sharia. Murahaba system. Although there is a subtle difference among the 8 systems of buying, selling and rental systems, Islami banks impose Murahaba system in all the lending cases. Difference can be noticed between the Murahaba system, followed by the Islamic banks, and Murahaba system, enunciated in Hadith and Fiqh. In many cases the Murabaha system implemented by Islamic bank, tantamount to transaction of interest, due to negligence of the concerned banks. In fact, Murabaha system is an inferior system. This system is far from the system approved by the Sharia. It is said that Murabaha system revolves round the periphery of transaction of interest. Hazrat Ibn Abbas Radi Allahu an used to dislike Murabaha buying-selling system. Non-implementation of Musharaka and Mudaraba system, these are better systems. Since there is risk of loss in these systems, Islamic banks remain aloof from the same, whereas they are pledge-bound to follow partnership system on the basis of profit and loss. Determination of profit at a fixed rate. When under the Islamic banking system a client is being given a commodity, at that very moment of bilateral contract between the lender and borrower a fixed rate of profit is imposed against that commodity. In this case banks do not take the risk of facing loss. Fakirs opine that this system goes against the provision of Sharia. Transaction of interest. Under Islamic banking system, the transaction of interest takes place in foreign currency clearing account, transaction with foreign banks, conducting of nostro account, transaction with brokerage house of the banks, foreign bill purchase/negotiation, transaction with other local banks and investment of the idle fund in consortium fund, etc. So there is no scope to say that the Islamic banking system prevailing in Bangladesh is not absolutely free from interest. Compensation. In Islamic banking system the conditions of compensation is widely misused and transactions of interest are in vogue at the rate of compound interest. Before the advent of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, interest increased at compound rate, which created inhuman pressure on the society. Riba was prohibited during the time of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, to emancipate from oppression and suppression. From the Islamic view, money is money, commodity is commodity. Money is the medium through which investment is made. Islam does not support investing money for interest. Conclusion: 171 crores of Muslims of the world are being oppressed and suppressed at the hands of 83 lakh Jews of Israel. Similarly, 15 crore 89 lakh Muslims of Bangladesh are being confused by a handful of Jamatis. Islam is a religion of peace. Propagation of Islam took place by dint of wali awliya, pir mashik and ulama karam. A handful of out-of-track and contra-Aqidah Jamatis are leading the country towards conflict. We should keep in mind that the security, peace and stability of the neighboring country and Southeast Asia, to a great extent depend on the peace and stability of Bangladesh. Bangladesh is a land of amity and cordiality. Various conspiracies are underway in order to destabilize the religious sector of the country. We have achieved the independence of the country through the Great Liberation War. It is our responsibility to maintain peace and stability of the country. For achieving these goals we should remain always active and conscious. A reformation should take place in the arena of curriculum and syllabus of religious education. The existing curriculum and syllabus are misleading the simple-minded students of madrasa. Those who are engrossed with the politics of grabbing power, they are misled and confused with the distorted philosophy of religion. Their wrong aqidah and the thought are misleading to the pious Muslims, inspiring them to follow the wrong track. The banks, insurance companies and financial institutions which are exploiting the name of Quran Sunnah as well as Islam are not working on the basis of Sharia. These banks are unable to work as riba or interest-free bank. Islamic rules and regulation are being violated by using the accumulated fund from interest, compensation, doubtful income, zakat, sadaqah by channelizing them to different track instead of definite head. The politics of Jamaat is being financed from the head of compensation instead of transferring these amounts to the government for the expansion of the business of armed dealers. There is provocation for terrorism and militancy. The expansion of militancy can be throttled if we can create consciousness on the matter as a whole. By analyzing the discussion made above, we can safely conclude that three problems are of vital importance for Bangladesh: misguided Islamic education, misguided Islamic banking system and distorted politics in the name of creating Islamic State. To obviate from these problems, a reform should take place in the arena of curriculum and syllabus of Islamic education. Secondly, to establish bank and financial institutions on the basis of the provisions enunciated in Quran Hadith, and to establish individual, family, society, state and world system in the light of Medina Charter. Lastly, it is essential to expand the network of dawah, religious call, to fellow people.